Have you ever needed a place to live so badly that you ignored every red flag just to get a roof over your head? Because I didn't. I'm lucky I made it out. What started as a desperate attempt to escape a bad situation at home ended with me waking up to my roommate hovering over my bed in the dark. Welcome everyone, and thank you for clicking on today's video. If you've ever dealt with sketchy landlords, creepy roommates, or strange noises behind locked doors, this one's for you. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy creepy real-life stories like this. Now, let me tell you how I ended up running for my life out of a house I thought was my safe haven. When things hit the fan with my parents, I had to move out fast. I didn't have many options. For a few weeks, I bounced from one friend's couch to another, telling myself it was temporary. I kept searching roommates and rental apps, and eventually, one listing stood out. A man named Luke was offering a bedroom in his 3-bedroom, single-story house for $1,200 a month. He made it clear he'd also be living there, but claimed he was barely home, so the renter would mostly have the house to themselves. His ad had some hard-set rules in all caps. No parties, no guests, no drinking in the living room, and no access to the basement. Odd, but not deal breakers. I scheduled a visit. Luke answered the door with this distant, almost robotic demeanor. He stuttered slightly when he talked and barely made eye contact. The house itself had an open layout kitchen, dining, and living room, all in one big space. The bedroom for rent was already furnished. For that price in my area, it was a steal. In person, Luke reiterated the rules, especially not going into the attic or the basement. Said they were for storage only. It felt like he was practically begging me to avoid those areas, which now seems more suspicious in hindsight. Still, I agreed and moved in 2 days later. No lease, just cash, month to month. At first things seemed okay. I set up my things and got comfortable quickly. Luke even gave me a key to my bedroom, which locked from the outside. At the time, I appreciated the gesture, but that good feeling didn't last. Luke claimed he was rarely home, but I noticed his car in the driveway nearly every time I came back from work. I started hearing footsteps and doors creaking at night, just outside my room. At first, I told myself it was the house settling, but then came the night I got up to use the bathroom and noticed the basement door was wide open. It was nearly 2 a.m. A faint yellow light glowed from somewhere deep below, and I could hear distant banging, like something being hammered or shoved. I crept toward the stairs when, out of nowhere, Luke appeared at the bottom, staring up at me, his face twisted with irritation. "I'm just going to the bathroom, I stammered me," he snapped. "Shut the basement door." His tone sent a chill down my spine. I obeyed and locked myself in my room. I couldn't sleep that night. A week later, I came home from work and found my bedroom door unlocked, and I never forgot to lock it. My clothes had clearly been rifled through, and my closet door, which I always kept shut, was cracked open. I felt violated. I tried confronting Luke, but he wouldn't answer his door despite his car being in the driveway. Later that night, I finally caught him as he was about to leave. I asked directly, "Did you go into my room?" He blinked. "No." I stayed calm and explained the door had been unlocked and my stuff had been moved. He claimed I had the only key and then abruptly ended the conversation, saying he had to go. I knew then I had to get out. That night, curiosity got the better of me. With Luke gone, I decided to check the basement. There were no light switches I could find, so I used my phone's flashlight. The basement was small, poorly carpeted and smelled foul like sewage and something worse. An old, stained couch sat in the middle of the room. I followed the smell to a door in the corner. It was locked. I didn't try too hard to open it. I hurried back upstairs, closed the basement door, and locked myself in my room. I woke up some time before dawn. Something had disturbed me, then I realized. Someone was standing next to my bed. It was Luke. Leaning over me in the dark, I screamed. He said calmly, "She." "Did you go into the basement?" I yelled. "How did you get in here?" "I locked the door." "Are you sure?" he asked, holding up an empty hand. What that meant, I still don't know. I turned the question around. "Did you come into my room when I wasn't here?" He didn't even flinch. "No." Then he backed up to the door and said, "I think you should find other living arrangements." That was it. I was done. I packed everything within an hour. Before I left, I demanded he refund at least half the rent since I had only been there 2 weeks. After a minute, he cracked open his bedroom door and silently extended a hand holding $400. His face never appeared. I didn't even count it. I grabbed it and got out. I spent the night in my car. The next day, I went back to my parents' house, and after telling them what happened, something shifted. They were more than happy to have me back. I stayed with them for a month before moving out again, this time on better terms. If you're considering living with a random stranger from the internet, trust your gut. No price is worth feeling unsafe in your own home. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story or found it creepy, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for more real-life horror stories. Stay safe out there. Tonight's story is one that still chills me to this day because it could have happened to anyone. If you've ever had a random college roommate, this one's for you. Make sure you're somewhere safe, turn the lights low, and let's get into. It was my junior year of college. I had finally moved off campus into a student apartment building, thinking it'd be a step up from the chaos of dorm life. My roommate, David, was essentially assigned to me through the school's roommate matching system, just another student who needed someone to live with. At first glance, he seemed fine, friendly, polite, always smiling. He made the usual small talk, offered to share groceries, and even complimented my posters and desk setup. But it didn't take long before things started to feel off. At first, it was just little things. David would linger in my room longer than necessary, asking oddly personal questions, stuff like what time I go to bed, what kind of dreams I usually have, even who I text before I fall asleep. He'd sometimes move or touch my stuff without asking, pretending he was just curious about my setup. I brushed it off as quirky. Maybe he was just socially awkward. Then came the late night sounds. Almost every night, I'd hear noises coming from his room. At first, I chalked it up to movies or phone calls, till I realized it was always whispering. One night, around 2 a.m., I couldn't sleep. The whispering got to me. I crept out of bed and tiptoed down the hall to David's room. I pressed my ear to the door. His voice was low, mumbling words I couldn't quite make out, till I heard him say my name, Jeff. It was sharp, intentional, like he knew I was outside his door. I jumped back and hurried to my room, heart pounding. I got back into bed and lay still, trying to convince myself it was a coincidence. Maybe he was dreaming. Maybe he said my name randomly. But in my gut, I knew something was wrong. Over the following days, I noticed more. David would sometimes stare at me for a little too long. His smile didn't seem so friendly anymore. At night, the whispering continued, sometimes outside my door. One night, I heard it again, whispering. I pressed my ear to the door, and then, just like before, it stopped. "Jeff." This time, I answered. "Yeah, you good?" No response. Just retreating footsteps back to his room. Things escalated quickly after that. One night, I woke up to the sound of my bedroom door closing. I hadn't left it open. I sat up in bed and heard footsteps, his walking back down the hallway. I was frozen in place. The next morning, I confronted him. I asked him if he sleepwalked. He hesitated, then said yes, but his tone was weird, like he was trying to remember a lie he'd already told. I didn't buy it, so I did something I probably shouldn't have. I waited until he left the apartment and decided to snoop through his room. I knew it was a violation, but I felt justified. I searched quickly drawers, under the bed, closet, since I found a small, hidden drawer in the back of his closet. Inside were photographs, dozens. Most of them were of me. I was asleep in every single one. Some were taken up, close enough to see pores, stray hairs, or the texture of my pillow. Others were from across the room or slightly above me, like he'd been standing on something. Mixed among them were photos of another guy I didn't recognize, probably our age, always asleep too. That's when it hit me. That guy must have been David's last roommate. I felt sick. I took pictures of the evidence and grabbed a few photos for proof. I packed a bag that same night and slept at a friend's place. The next day, I went straight to the student housing office. I showed them everything. Thankfully, they took it seriously. They told me they'd take appropriate action and moved me into a different unit with a new roommate, someone normal. I never saw David again. Years have passed, and I still get uneasy when I think about it. I never figured out who that other guy in the photos was. Maybe he never reported it, or maybe he found out too late. Every now and then, I still wonder what David would have done if I hadn't left when I did. Stay safe out there, especially if you're living with someone you barely know. And as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, or if it seriously creeped you out, please give it a like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. And if you've ever had a creepy roommate, I definitely want to hear about it in the comments. Until next time. Tonight's story is a terrifying reminder of how one bad decision can spiral into a waking nightmare. If you've ever lived with a stranger, this one's going to hit uncomfortably close to home. When I was 23, I moved out of state for a job. The company I still work for to this day had an opportunity in another region, and I couldn't pass it up. It was great for my career, but not so great for my wallet. I needed to find affordable housing quickly. I posted every work regs list, Facebook, Twitter, even the local subreddit, looking for a roommate. That's when a guy named Rob messaged me on Facebook. He said he had a spare room available in a house he owned outright. I checked out his photos. He looked clean, normal, and honestly kind of average. I figured a male roommate wasn't a big deal, as long as he wasn't a creep. My parents disagreed, but I was trying to be practical. We timed. Rob gave me a tour, and everything looked clean and lived in. It was a modest house in the middle of town, just 10 minutes from my new office. The price was right, and he didn't give off any weird vibes at the time, so I agreed to move in. The following week, I drove down and met him outside. The first thing I noticed was how short he was eye level with me. Still, he was polite and helped me carry my heavier bags inside. My room was already furnished, supposedly left behind by a friend who had recently moved out. I replaced the sheets and pillows with my own and spent the day settling in. Rob seemed eager to talk and hang out, but nothing inappropriate yet. The next day was Sunday. Rob offered to drive me around town, which I agreed to. He showed me where the good restaurants and stores were, and then suggested we grab lunch. It felt off, almost like a date. I politely declined, saying I wasn't hungry. He immediately pushed for drinks instead. I shut that down too, saying I didn't drink on work nights. His mood flipped instantly. He went quiet and sulky. I started to feel uneasy. Something in his energy shifted. That week was my first at work, and I was mostly preoccupied. But a few nights in, I noticed something strange. My laundry hamper looked disturbed, clothes out of place. When I started doing my wash, I realized a pair of my underwear was missing. I was horrified. I tore apart my room looking for it, but it was gone. I had a sinking feeling Rob Mitov had something to do with it, but I wasn't ready to confront him. Instead, I went to Ace Hardware that weekend and bought a lockable doorknob. While Rob was out, I installed it. That night, I was woken up by banging on my door at 1:30 a.m. It was Rob. He was saying my name, not yelling, but sounding angry. I stayed silent, pretending to be asleep. I was too scared to open the door. The next morning, I woke to texts from him. "We need to talk. Be home after work." I replied, "Is this about the doorknob?" "Yes," he said. I apologized, explaining that as a woman, I felt safer having the extra privacy. His next message chilled me. "It comes off today. That wasn't a request." I tried to reason with him, and though he softened a bit in his wording, he still insisted the lock had to go. What creeped me out more was that I hadn't left the old doorknob anywhere visible, meaning he had definitely tried to come into my room that night. I changed it back and started seriously rethinking everything. A few days later, a knock came at the front door. It was a girl about my age. She looked serious. "Are you living here with Rob?" she asked. I nodded. She said, "You need to get out. Now he has restraining orders against him from multiple women. He's a stalker, dangerous." My blood ran cold. I asked how she knew about me. She said she saw me move in and had waited for Rob to be gone to warn me. I thanked her over and over. She gave me her number and left. I started packing and scouring the internet for a new place. I found a studio across town that was a little pricier but available immediately. I reached out and got the green light to move in the next day. I texted Rob saying I had to leave for family reasons. He didn't reply at first. When he got home, he questioned me about it. I stuck to my story, and he said he'd give me my money back the next day. Then came the chilling moment. An hour later, he knocked on my door and asked, "Did some girl say something to you?" I played dumb. "No, why?" He paused. "Never mind. Just seems like you're running away from something else." I stuck to the lie. That night, I woke up to a dark figure sitting at the foot of my bed. It was Rob. I screamed. He rushed over and clamped his hand over my mouth, whispering, Don't scream." I begged, "Please don't hurt me." He whispered, "Why would I hurt you?" Then like something out of a nightmare. He began caressing my leg and muttered, "I don't mean to scare you." I bolted. I ran past him and out the door, phone in hand, dialing 911. I hid in a bush until the cops arrived. They questioned both of us. I told them everything, and thankfully, they stayed while I packed the rest of my stuff. I made Rob Venmo me the remaining rent in front of the officer's end. Surprisingly, he did. The cops told me off the record that Rob had previous run-ins with the law, especially involving women. But he denied ever entering my room, so it was just another he said, she said. I spent the night in a hotel and moved into my new place the next day. I've never felt such relief in my life. I will never live with a male roommate again, especially not one I meet online. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you found this story chilling, please give the video a thumbs up. Drop a comment, sharing your thoughts or similar experiences, and don't forget to subscribe for more true horror stories every week. Stay safe out there.